If you haven't yet done so, please check out Unfound's YouTube channel, like, subscribe, and maybe even hit the join button. Carl Schooner Jr. was a 30-year-old from Bella Coola, British Columbia, Canada. He had many brothers and sisters and helped his family with their store. On November 30th, 2022, Carl called his father to pick him up in Williams Lake in a few days. When his father arrived on December 4th, Carl could not be found. He was never seen again. I'm Ed Denzel, and this is Unfound. Disappearances are tough enough as they are, with unreliable witnesses, husbands and boyfriends and wives and girlfriends telling irrational stories. Searches that yield nothing, even though the searchers claim they know what they're doing. On and on and on. Seriously, I could go on for 15 more minutes on the topic. But imagine if we have all of that, with the addition that the disappearance occurred hundreds of miles from family, from friends, from everyone who truly cares about that missing person, with everyone then having to travel all that way to start their own investigation. We have seen this on Unfound several times. Some examples. Bo Man, who went missing in LA while most of his friends and family were on the East Coast. Kristen Modafferi in the same kind of situation. She was in San Francisco. Her friends and family still lived in North Carolina. And how about Jackie Bucky Letney? Everyone who knew him well was in Texas. He went missing in Alaska. The layers of difficulty that are added in these situations are several, making a horrible situation even worse, if that's possible. Well, with the disappearance of Carl Schooner Jr., we're not talking many miles. Instead, we're talking many kilometers. What happened to him so far away? And now a summary of the case. This disappearance is not on the Charlie Project or NamUs because it occurred in Canada. Carl Schooner Jr. was a member of the First Nations community of Canada. He helped his family with their store in Bella Coola, even going out with his father to pick wild mushrooms. But Carl also had an adventurous side. He was a fisherman who went with a crew out onto the Pacific Ocean to bring their catches home every day. As for his personal life, Carl had 3 children, and in the recent months before his disappearance, he had reconnected with a woman, Robin, he knew from some years before. The negative that can be said about Carl was that he might have been hanging around with the wrong crowd and got caught up in some drug activity. So, on November 30th, 2022, Carl was in Williams Lake, hundreds of kilometers from Bella Coola, seeing Robin. He called his father to pick him up in a few days. Carl wanted it to be December 2nd, but his father couldn't get there until the 4th. So, on that day, Carl's father arrived and tried reaching him through Messenger because they did not have a set time or location to meet. Carl never responded. He was never seen again. The woman in Carl's life was not much help, being very nebulous about when she last saw Carl. However, a friend of Carl's who had originally driven him to Williams Lake said he last saw Carl at Robin's. Despite the tragedy of disappearances, the odds of them being solved greatly increase when everything is convenient for family and friends to be involved in the resolution process. Contemplate what law enforcement can do to make it easier for these groups in long-distance cases, while you also try to answer these 3 questions during the interview. Number 1, how much does Williams Lake's local reputation play a role, if any, in this disappearance? Number 2, can the two people Carl knew the best in Williams Lake, Andy and Robin, be trusted at all? And number 3, is it a coincidence or not that Robin's apartment, where Carl was allegedly last seen, went up in flames less than a week after he disappeared? Carl's family can't help but think he did not disappear by choice. The guests for this episode are Carl's parents, Carl Sr. and Charlene. Unfound News. I have a great update for all of you. Ashley Linden has been found alive. If you will remember, Unfound featured her disappearance just a couple months ago. I can't go into details except to say she was found in the Tampa area and she is in decent physical health. Next, I'm still taking suggestions for the next revisitation episode. Your selection must come from the first couple of years of this podcast's existence, and the case must still be unsolved and not have been previously revisited. Email me at unfoundpodcast@gmail.com. Finally, be looking for Unfound's first interview with an FBI agent within the upcoming month. Yep, it's going to happen. I'm so happy to have on this episode of Unfound the parents of Carl Schooner Jr., Carl Sr., and Charlene. Charlene and Carl, welcome to Unfound.
Hello.
Let's start here and let's talk about Carl. Let's talk about your family. We know about Carl. That's the reason we're talking here tonight on June 6th of 2024. Do you have any other kids?
Yes, we do. We have a blended family. Travis, Kristen, Cody,
Wow.
Lewis, Aiden, and our grandson Jake.
Wow, a lot of kids.
And one of our other sons passed away in 2017, or 13.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And where do you live? Where did you raise your family? What part of Canada?
British Columbia and Bella Coola.
Mm-hmm.
Been here since we raised a family in a small town.
Yeah.
Fishing and mushroom picking.
Mushroom picking. Okay.
All different kind of businesses that we had. We
Yeah.
have. And
Yeah.
It's just all entrepreneurial.
Okay. Carl, is that where you grew up, or did you grow up in a different part of Canada?
No. Our family's right from here, from way back. We're First Nations, and
Wow.
we've been living here for
Long time.
our family's been living here for generations.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So that's the part of, and so we just want to make clear for the audience that where Carl disappeared is not where he grew up. This is a different area, correct?
Yeah, Williams Lake.
Yeah, Williams Lake. Correct. How far is that? You can use kilometers. We can do the conversion. How far is that from where you live?
It's about 460 kilometers from here.
Okay, so about 320 miles, something like that. So not close.
Yeah.
Not close. Okay. What can you say about your son Carl, about his personality, interests? You know, when you think about Carl, what are some things that come to mind?
Well, he was outgoing. He was always on the move and always wanting to do something. He always came by the house and
Mm-hmm.
Ask if anything was needed to be done to help me with the commercial gillnet boats all the time, and help me with mushroom picking and help me buy mushrooms.
Uh-huh.
Yard cleaning. He was just outgoing, and he drank and he did drugs, but
Yeah.
he's still a person.
So was he living with you at the time of his disappearance, or was he living somewhere else?
Off and on, just say, whatever. Yeah, couch surfing pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Couch surfing, and he would come and stay with you sometimes, help you with your work.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All around.
Was he into anything? Was he into like sports? Was he into music? Was he into hockey? A lot of people, of course, Canadian hockey or lacrosse, anything like that. What was he into in his spare time?
No, he'd just like to. With his one girlfriend, he'd just like to do beadwork or make necklaces and.
Uh-huh. Okay, so he was artistic a little bit.
Yeah, he started getting into mechanics and started learning about how to work on vehicles.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and helped us with our store a few times, and
yeah,
he knew how to run the door, and someone was buying, he learned how to buy mushrooms with me, and kind of fishing. He started learning that.
Okay. How old was he? How old was he at the time of his disappearance?
30 years old.
30. Okay.
Yeah. Well, he worked on a packer boat most of his life since he was a teen.
Okay.
Traveled to Vancouver and back and forth from there too. He worked quite a bit.
Okay.
Showing fish and herring fish and.
Okay. So I have to, being that I'm a stupid American, when you say fishing, does this mean going out into the Pacific Ocean or just fishing on the lakes of Canada?
No, on the ocean.
On the ocean, really? Wow.
Yeah, he was working on the packer boat. People that, owned pack fish and deliver to the canneries and stuff.
Wow. Okay. So is that one of those things where you go out like for days at a time? Go out there like for several days, catch fish, and then come home, or was this like a daily thing?
Yeah, you get fish from the people that are fishing, and all they do is pack it.
Okay.
And then take it to the canneries and stuff.
Okay, gotcha. All right, let's move on. So we know a little bit about Carl. He's 30 years old, living in your area, helping you with your private business that your family has here. He's also doing some work outside of that. And he's kind of a 30-year-old. Maybe we're not surprised. Hanging out with friends, maybe staying with friends, staying with you. Very common, I think, for a lot of 30-year-olds. And I should ask you this. Of course, we're going to talk about Robin here in a bit. But did he have any kids? Was he ever married? Anything like that?
Yeah, he had a girl and 2 other kids with her.
Wow.
I don't know where they're living now, but yeah, he had a family. And,
he did.
And basically, that's what he was looking for, is
a
family.
Okay.
And I believe that's what his intentions were.
Okay. So how many kids in total would you say that he had?
3.
3 kids. Okay. Very good. Thank you. All right. Let's move on to this. I'm just going to ask you about a couple people. Of course, we're following the outline like we do for all interviews that I do for my podcast. And so these questions are coming. We're just going to talk about, we're not going to use these people's last names. But we just want to talk about him in general terms. For example, how Carl knew this guy, Andy. Who is Andy? How did the two know each other?
they just met up and they became friends, I guess, and he just traveled back and forth to Williams Lake with him and stayed at his mother-in-law's up there, and his mother-in-law, or his mom's.
Okay.
And that's where Carl Jr. stayed too.
Okay.
And,
Any guesses how long Carl and Andy had known each other? Would you say for 10 years, 5 years? How close of friends were they? How well did they know each other?
wasn't too long, maybe 3 or 4 years, I guess.
Not long. Not too long.
5 years, maybe.
Okay. Do you, of course, maybe you have a certain opinion of Andy now, but back at the time, let's just say in 2021 or 2020, any particular attitude that you and Charlene had for Andy? Did you think he was a good guy? Did you think he was a good friend of Carl's? What did you think of Andy?
Well, he seemed to be a really good friend of Junior's, Junior, and he was concerned. And,
okay.
I don't know. It just, he's crippled too, so he has a hard time walking around.
Oh, he is.
And
oh, I didn't know that. So Andy had some sort of physical disability?
yeah, on the right. I think it's right leg.
Oh my. Okay. So they knew each other somehow, and before this all happened, you had a fairly good opinion of Andy. Fairly good.
Well, we know him, but we don't really know him personally.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, we're going to come back and talk about Andy a little bit more later, of course. What about Robin? My understanding is that this is a woman that came back into Carl's life. That they had been a couple, maybe they'd known each other one time and kind of got separated and then maybe came back together. Is this true? What can you say about Robin once again before Carl went missing? What would you say about her?
A while back when they were young teenagers, they started seeing each other, and I don't know what happened, but they just left different towns, I guess, and just last year, he just met up with her again in Williams Lake, and it became, I don't know, she messaged us and said they were a couple.
Wow.
Said they were get married.
Huh. Okay.
And I asked for to send pictures of them, but she wouldn't send any pictures.
Okay. Okay. I have to ask for you and Charlene. When they did reconnect, Carl and Robin, did she ever come over to your place? Did she ever come and visit you with Carl? Anything like that?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Did Robin and Carl have any kids together?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. But they had gotten back together, and she led you two to believe that there were plans for she and Carl to get married. That's what she told you.
Yeah. Told us that, yeah.
Okay. All right. We're going to certainly come back to that. All right. So,
like icing on a cake or something, you know. I don't know what was really happening. She wouldn't tell us.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Let's move up to this. Now, of course, he didn't disappear from where you live currently, where he grew up. He disappeared from Williams Lake, which, as we've already talked about, 400 some kilometers away from where you live. But what was he doing up there? How long had he been over in that area? How did he get there? What can you say about those days before he went missing from Williams Lake? How did he get up there? What was he doing?
Well, he went up with Andy, and I guess he started seeing that girl Robin.
Okay.
Andy told us that he did not like the people that she was hanging around with, and didn't like her as a person to be with. When we were and I was talk to him, but that was only the one time that we were able to talk with him. And then when they said they were going to Kelowna and get, have a honeymoon or something. And then,
wow.
And I asked to speak with him, but she wouldn't let me
Okay.
talk to him.
All right. On approximately what date was this that happened?
And they was on a good 4th, 5th, so around in between the 4th and the 5th
of December.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about the time though he called you, and I want to talk about the time before he called you for you to come pick him up. What was he doing up in Williams Lake? He was up there seeing Robin?
No, he was up there with Andy and just doing his thing, and they were trying to get a vehicle started.
Okay.
And he wanted to come down, pick up his welfare check.
Okay. So did Andy live in Williams Lake?
No, he just jumped from place to place too.
Okay.
Pretty well.
All right. So I have to admit, Carl Sr., that it seems a little murky what Carl Jr. was actually doing up there. For how many days would you say he was up in Williams Lake before he went missing? How many days?
A week or a little bit of a week, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Week and a half, I think. Then.
Okay, and he was your understanding is he was hanging out with Andy.
Yeah, that was our understanding, and then he ended up hanging out with Robin.
Okay. So I just want to ask you, all right, so he's up there, he went up there with Andy. They've been known each other, like you've established, for a few years. They're up there doing whatever the guys do. He's 30 years old. He doesn't have to check in. He's not a teenager anymore. So he's doing his thing. And so I'm just going to ask you some questions just in general before we get to the real specifics of this disappearance. How are you feeling about your son Carl in 2022? Would you say that 2022 was a good year for him? Was he doing well? Did you think he was healthy mentally, physically? Would you say that 2022 was a good year for him? Were you worried about anything that was going on in his... Please.
It was ups and downs. He was in the drugs, and
he was.
He didn't seem himself, I guess.
Okay.
Not too long before he went back up Williams Lake.
Okay. All right. So would it be safe to say you were a little worried about him?
Yeah. Well, his wife was telling me he shouldn't go up, and
Yeah.
I just had a bad feeling about it.
Yeah.
I went up to Williams Lake, and sure enough,
that happens. Okay. So 2022, he's mixed up in some things. So he was into some drugs, Carl. And once again, we don't have to spend too much time on this, but he was doing some drugs. What was he into?
I'm not sure what it was all into.
Okay.
Not sure what kind.
Okay, that's fine. Well, did he ever mention that he was having any problems with anybody? And once again, you don't have to say the names if you don't want to, but did he ever say that, you know what, John Smith I'm having a hard time with John Smith. Obviously, he was getting along with Andy and Robin, but anybody that you thought, was after him, did he have any beefs with anybody, to your knowledge?
Not that I know of, no. He never mentioned anything like that to us. Did he mention anything to you? I don't think so.
Okay.
He just called in to us. He mostly called Char.
Yeah.
And let her know what he's up to and where he is and that he's okay.
Okay.
He did that. He made sure and did that on a weekly basis pretty well.
All right. Well, then he was a good son then, I guess. I like to do. My dad's 87 years old. He lives in Pennsylvania, so about 1,000 miles, so 1,600 kilometers away from me. And so I like to talk to him every day. I like to check in with him as well, and he checks in with me. So I know what you're talking about there. Okay. let's move on to this. I think this is a very important part of this disappearance. And so he called you on the Friday, and as best as we can tell, this was like December 2nd, which was a Friday of 2022.
November 30th. On November 30th.
November 3rd. Well, that would have been a Wednesday then.
My wife just told me it's November 30th.
It was November 30th then.
It was about 10 o'clock.
Okay.
In the morning. That's the last time we spoke with him.
Okay, and what did he say during this November 30th? So that would have, just so we're clear on this, that would have been a Wednesday because Friday, December 2nd is actually that Friday. So if you're telling me November 30th, that's actually a Wednesday. Just so we're clear on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he calls, and what does he say during this phone call? He calls you or Charlene, and what does he say?
Oh, Charlene, and it's just check in, and he was drinking. Check in with us, let us know he's at a friend's house, and started talking. He was talking about laptop.
Yeah.
And I think that's when he asked to come up. I think, yeah, that's when he asked us to pick him up on Friday.
Okay, so he's calling you just so he calls you on that Wednesday, November 30th. He wants picked up on Friday, but you couldn't do that, right? You weren't headed up that direction.
Yeah, well, I was supposed to meet a guy up on Insurance on Sunday, so and I just wanted to make it so pick up our popcorn machine from Insurance.
Okay.
Sunday.
The popcorn machine. Okay. All right. Okay, so he wants picked up, but you can't come and pick him up when he wants. Did he detail the conversation? Did he say why he wanted to get picked up to come back to where you live? Any details on that, or was he due to be picked up, or what?
Remember? Was there any details on why you wanted to pick up on Friday?
You wanted to come home to Hyde's visit to have to see the family here.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. He just wanted to, he said, don't tell anybody. Come and pick me up. And he went to the family, be surprised the family when they come home.
Okay, so that was the idea. He wanted to picked up on Friday because he wanted to surprise everybody else.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, but you couldn't do that, and so when were you going to pick him up instead?
And up on Sunday.
Sunday, so that would have been December 4th.
That's when that message around. I couldn't get a hold of him, and couldn't get a hold of Andy, couldn't get a hold of Rob.
Okay, well I want to get into the specifics of that. So you talked to him on Wednesday. He wants picked up on Friday. You can't get there, but do you tell him that you'll be there on Sunday?
Sunday. Yeah.
Okay. I have to ask, usually when people are picking other people up, did you make any specific, a specific time, a specific place?
No. Well, no, we didn't. Well, I just messaged him from up there. When I got up there, and then I just told him where we were going to be at, where I was going to be at. In the hotel.
Where at?
Williams Lake, Coast Fraser.
Okay, Williams Lake Hotel.
Yeah.
Okay. But the thing is, though, he doesn't have a phone. How are you going to communicate with him since he doesn't have a phone? We'll get back into this later, but how are you going to actually message him if he didn't have a phone?
Well, he always went places where he knows where he can go on the internet.
Okay.
His friends and stuff he goes to. And that's what he did on Wednesday. He went to a friend's place and used their laptop.
Okay.
culprits.
Okay. So you get there on that Sunday, and since you were there, Carl Sr., what happens? You get there, you try to message him, and what goes on?
And there was no reply back. I waited for a few hours, went to have breakfast and coffee, and checked messages again, still nothing. So I said, well, I said, I'll be back. I'll be heading to insurance straight there and back tonight, so I'll be back here tonight. You pick up the popcorn machine, and there's still no reply.
Okay. While you were there, did you happen to try to contact Andy or Robin to see if they had seen him?
Yeah, I messaged them if they weren't on Facebook. They weren't online.
Okay.
And I didn't know where they stayed until after he went missing.
Okay. All right. So you're there. He's not responding, and so you just decided, you know what, I gotta go. Maybe I'll pick him up another day.
Yeah. Well, we were back there that same night from insurance.
Okay.
At home.
All right. Gotcha. All right. Did you happen to, while you were there, so you're just sitting there, you didn't really talk to anybody? You just kind of waiting around?
Yeah. I went to the room and
Okay.
Sheriff didn't kind of find him.
Okay. So when exactly, of course he's still missing. That's why we're here. We're doing this interview on June 6th of 2024, so it's been a year and a half. So when do you start thinking, something's not right here? When do you start thinking that? When do you and the rest of your family start thinking, something's not right?
That's when I started getting really worried when I got to Prince George. I messaged my wife, and there's still no response. And then I got back to Williams Lake, so I was getting really worried. I was messaging around, trying to phone them, so they wouldn't answer.
Yeah. Okay, so it was on that day which would have been December 4th, you were already worried that night.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you do? You're up there, you don't live in Williams Lake. Of course, you live 400 some kilometers away. Do you then come home, and how, what do you do in those next few days?
Well, stayed the night in Williams Lake.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And the I stayed there, waiting, no reply all night. And then, morning, I finally get a reply from Robin. And messages me and says, I haven't seen Junior in 2 days. I'm worried.
Okay. Where did she happen to say where she last saw him?
No, she didn't say.
She didn't say.
But that was a bit before that. Said they were in travel. Went to the Kelowna hotel, nothing to. So they get married and everything, and
that's what she told you on that call.
Well, yeah,
Messages.
Facebook message.
All right, so you're asking where he is, and she's telling you about how they were going to get married.
Yeah, and so they sent one picture of them, and I tried to ask for more pictures, but she wouldn't send any.
Okay. So she hadn't seen him in 2 days, and I'll ask you again, did she specifically say where she last saw him?
It was like she said she last saw him.
All right, like it.
So they getting all mixed up, like it was jumping all over the place.
Say that again. Speak up if you could a little bit, Carl Sr., if you could. What did she say? She was all over the place?
Yeah, well, her stories go all over the place, and
Okay.
she's at there with her family, every Kelowna, then she's at there in Williams Lake.
Okay.
So I know he was hiding something.
All right. So I guess what I'm trying to ask you, she didn't say, this is just an example. She didn't say he was walking down to the local Tim Hortons and never came back.
No.
Nothing specific like that. Okay. So when do you decide to get the police involved?
That morning, that Monday morning, when she replied, I haven't seen him in 2 days, I'm worried then. And then right when she said that, I phoned the police.
Okay.
I was so worried.
Yeah. Okay. And what did the police do? So the police show up there in Williams Lake. Is this the Williams Lake Police or is this RCMP?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, Williams Lake RCMP.
Okay. And what do they do?
Well, I guess they just started checking all these places out first, where he all things out.
Mm-hmm.
We gave them all places, we checked them all out. Well, basically all they could do,
Okay.
can't do anything else but to check where he was last at. And then we just decided, well, I went home, and a couple of friends of mine came up, just back up to Williams Lake, then we started the search.
Okay. Do you know if the police in those first, let's just say 24, 48 hours, did they speak to Robin? Did they talk to her? Do you know?
Yeah, they did.
They did. And do you happen to know at all what she said? Did she, I obviously she wasn't very specific with you. Was she specific with them? Did she give them a specific story? Do you know?
Told them a story, but they can't tell us, but
Okay.
after she just kept changing her stories. So,
okay. And so you initiated these searches, where did you search? And we're going to get into this party and the location and everything, but where did you decide to search? You had friends go up there. How did you even pick any places out? How did you decide?
we just drove pretty well anywhere. You sure?
When we first started, we got a tip that he was last seen in Kelowna.
Oh yeah.
At London
Good morning. Yeah, we got a tip that he was in Kelowna. And so we drove that way and we searched that for them.
Okay.
2 days.
All right, you'll have to explain. Where is Kelowna? How close is Kelowna to Williams Lake?
Well, that's where Robin's that they had went, so that's, and that's about maybe 300, 400 kilometers away.
Wow, like back toward where you lived or in the opposite direction? I mean, we're talking a big expanse here. I know Canada's a huge country, but man, this is a lot of distance.
Yeah, it's opposite direction.
Wow. Okay. So we got you living where you live. You drive 400 kilometers to get to Williams Lake, and you're telling me that she's saying they went to Kelowna, which is an additional 300 some kilometers.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. And so you went up there. Obviously, you did not find anything. I mean, so are we talking about going out in the woods or just looking along the roads, or what are you doing?
Yeah, we just did a little bit of both. We didn't know any full details on what's happened or anything. We just wanted to see if we can, see them, find them, or so we just drove all over
Okay.
the countryside there, and then Williams Lake, we did the same thing. We drove every street pretty well, every back road that we could find.
Mm-hmm. In your opinion, obviously Robin said, she hadn't seen him in 2 days. I guess she sounds at least a little worried, but how would you portray? I mean, I know you said she's changed stories, but how would you describe her emotional state?
Well, it didn't seem to be, get very concerned because she never even came out to see us, never came out to try to help look for him, or anything like that.
Okay.
And
Okay. What about Andy? We can't forget the reason that Carl was even up in this area is because Andy drove him up there. How soon after that Sunday did you speak to Andy, and what did he have to say?
well, we finally, can't remember what day it was, they finally got a hold of us, and he said he was trying to help look and search around for him too, but he never did ever come to, where we met, all grew up, and people from Williams Lake, people from organizations all came out to support us. And
Yeah. All right, so I just want to ask you specifically, did it take you contacting Andy, or did Andy contact you first after this happened?
it took us to contact him.
Okay. All right. At any time in those conversations, did Andy ever offer up, did he ever say, well, I last saw Carl here? Did he ever say the last time that he saw Carl?
It was at Robin's place where he said.
Is that what he said? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And when was that? Was that preceding Friday, Thursday? Did he give a date?
I think it was on Saturday.
Okay. So that would have been the
So
third.
we were in a vehicle on Saturday.
Okay. So that would have been the third. Okay. Let's move on. So we have, he wanted picked up on Friday. Excuse me. He wanted picked up on Friday. You couldn't pick him up. You go up there Sunday, can't reach him. You get worried. You stay there. You finally get to speak to Robin. She says she hasn't seen him in a couple days. You get the police involved. You do these searches. Her stories seem to change at least a little bit, but Andy is a little more specific. He's saying, yeah, I last saw Carl at Robin's, and I really don't know what happened after that. All right, and of course we know that Carl is still missing a year and a half later. Let's go to this now. You've told me that Williams Lake has a reputation. Why don't you explain to all of us who aren't Canadians, what is the reputation of Williams Lake?
Well, there's local gang members that fight for the, drug trade. And there's a lot of people that go missing. But I don't know why they go missing, but there's one to a year, every other day in the Williams Lake area that a First Nations person goes missing.
Oh, okay.
In that area.
Yeah. So, and I should explain this. I guess I have to do this because, of course, a lot of the listeners do not live in Canada. We'd say First Nations. That's like Native Americans in the United States. It's like indigenous peoples, correct?
Yeah.
Indigenous people. All right, thank you. I just want to make sure they just have a different terminology for it in Canada. So First Nation. So you're telling me a lot of First Nations people, you have a missing persons problem for First Nations people in Canada.
Yeah, well, we see it all over Canada, yeah.
Okay. All right, so Williams Lake has a reputation and got some drug activity there, gang activity, although Williams Lake sounds like a nice place, but we know that can pop up anywhere these days. Let's move on to this. You told me there was a story that, and please tell me how you first heard about this, that a neighbor had said that she or he had heard screaming. Like that Friday night, that Saturday night, the police showed up, they didn't find anything. What exactly is the story? How did you find out about
Well, the neighbor heard somebody calling for help, crying, saying, we don't know. And neighbor called the landlord. And there's a guy who looks after the apartments.
Mm-hmm.
The police were called, but never entered the building.
Okay.
Never entered the residence.
Okay. And if you know, what day was this? Would you say this was the night of December 2nd, the night of December 3rd? Do you know?
It was the night of the 5th.
Excuse me?
1 o'clock in the morning.
Excuse me, you have to say that again, Carl, please. What was the date?
December 5th.
5th. All right, so this would have been actually after you got there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you know if the police show up, they don't do anything? Was the call at Robin's place?
Yeah, the call.
It was. Okay. Okay, but that's to your knowledge, that has never been resolved. They still don't know what this screaming was. I guess we have to be open to the idea. Maybe it was Carl Jr., but it could have been somebody else, or of course we know people make this stuff up. That hasn't been resolved.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we have this story. The police did get called, just happened to get called to the same place where Carl Jr. was that weekend. When did you first hear about Robin having a party? When did this first pop up? Did Robin tell you this? Did somebody else tell you this? I guess she had some sort of party at her place on that Friday. What do you know about it?
Oh, that was what Anthony told us. He was in there calling at the post party there. That's the last time we seen him there, I think it was.
Okay. Okay, so Andy was at this party, and that's when he says he last saw Carl.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Has Robin ever talked about this party to anybody? For example, has she ever mentioned who was there, how many people, anything like that?
No.
Okay. All right, so this is a big question mark as to if this party existed or not. We'll just have to take somebody's word on it. Let's talk a little bit more about Robin. I just want to make something clear, although we've talked about it a couple times, just to make sure we understand this. So when you finally talked to her about Carl being missing, she's telling you about how the two of them were going to get married.
Yeah.
That's when that came up.
That was before that.
Before he went missing, okay. Did it come up on the day when you talked to her about Carl being missing?
No.
No. Okay.
Didn't.
Okay. In your opinion, both of yours opinion, being they're both on this call, do you think that Carl, your son, was going to marry Robin or not? Is that?
I had suspicions of what was going on. I don't know. In his head. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't feel it was something that he would have told us before. I could tell.
Okay. Let's move on to this. Now, here's the curious part. One of a couple curious things we're going to talk about. You told me, and I did find an article on this, that Robin's apartment burned how many days after your son went missing?
It was a week or something. A little over a week after he went missing.
Wow. How did you find out about that? Do you remember?
We were in the hotel and we seen it. Oh, were we down here?
No, we were in Williams Lake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were in Williams Lake in the hotel, and we seen it on the news or Facebook.
Okay.
And I said, oh, we didn't know at that time. We didn't know it was the place where he was at, wasn't it?
We didn't know it was Robin Ann's place.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You didn't know it was hers at first, but you eventually found out it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever, and we've talked about this offline, but I have to ask you, just for the purposes of this interview, have you ever heard what the cause of this fire was?
No.
Okay. So
No, we never looked through those.
okay. So we don't know if this was on purpose, if this was an accident, if this was a cooking accident, if it was an electrical fire. We don't know. It could have been caused by, of course, somebody cooking up drugs with meth or something. We have no idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you even know how bad the fire was? Did it completely destroy everything inside, or was it just a small fire? Do you even know that?
It burned quite a bit of everything up. Burned quite a bit inside, like it. The whole inside was burnt.
Wow.
Just the apartment.
Okay.
So,
Okay. And as both of you know, I was able to find an article about this burning, and yeah, it was right after Carl went missing. That is certainly curious. Do you happen to know where Robin moved after that? Did she stay in Williams Lake? Did she go somewhere else? Do you even know?
her parents, her dad, we found out that she moved in with her dad.
She did. Okay. All right. So we have this fire, and you should know here in the United States, sometimes this information is a little difficult to get. Even though here in the United States, fire, that kind of stuff is supposed to be public information. Sometimes it can be tough to find out. I've had to do that for a couple disappearances. I don't know what the laws are in Canada, but I think it's something worth your time to try to figure out what exactly this fire was. I have to ask you, after this fire occurred and you found out about it, did you ever talk to Robin after that?
Off and on, she would contact us, and now she won't talk to us at all. She blocked us on Facebook.
Okay. Did you ask her about the fire?
I can't remember if I did or not.
I'm guessing if you asked her about it and she gave a reason, you'd remember it. But it seems to me, so what you're telling me is at some point, you found out that it was her place that burned, but when you spoke to her later, you never asked her about this fire we heard about it. What happened? You never asked her.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So when was the last time you two had any communication with Robin? Has it been a year?
6 months.
It's been a while.
It was probably 4 or 5 months.
Okay. Has she, in talking to her, has she ever offered up her own theory as to what happened to Carl, your son? Has she ever said, I think he got abducted. I think he walked off into the woods. Has he ever offered up her opinion?
Not really, no. She just wanted to make us feel sorry for her pretty well.
All right, so you're the one who's lost a son, but she's trying to get sympathy for herself.
Yeah.
Your opinion. Okay.
Everybody's attacking me or something like that.
Okay. Well, that happens. All right, let's move on to this. Now, we can't forget about Andy. He was the reason that Carl was in Williams Lake in the first place. The curious thing is you told me that he also had a fire as well after Carl's disappearance regarding his car. How did you find out about this?
Same thing, Facebook. I don't know how long. I guess you're trying to drive it home.
Uh-huh.
Something to do with the wheels, one of them. broken on the one wheel.
And it caught fire.
No, it was set on fire. We drove by it a few times. It was there, but after a while, it was set on fire.
Wow. All right, so Robin's place apartment goes up in smoke right after this disappearance. And then also after that, Andy has a problem with his car and it catches fire too.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
How long, if you can remember, how long after the disappearance did this happen to Andy's car? A week? 2 weeks? A month?
No, it was quite longer.
It was.
6 months or something.
Okay, so not close.
Yeah. Yeah, he was warned.
You have to say. You have to say that again, Carl. What did you say? Please say it again, please.
He warned. I guess he told Junior that he warned that we don't want to be hanging with our girls. Bad news. That's how he said it.
Okay. But have you ever talked to Andy about his car? Is he the one who told you what happened to it, or what?
No, we just seen it on Facebook.
Okay.
I don't know who did it or.
Okay. But Andy, if you've spoken to him, he never said that somebody put his car on fire, anything like that.
No.
Okay.
No, we did not.
All right. When was the last time you spoke to Andy?
It's been off and on for about a year now, I guess.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. He comes to Bella Coola. He goes to Williams Lake. His hometown is Unfound Lake.
Okay. Would you say that he's acted concerned about Carl's disappearance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he messaged us a few times and voice message saying, concerned about him and drive around himself and look for him.
Okay.
And he get some different information from Robin, I guess.
Okay. And it does sound to me that Andy was not a big fan of Robin.
No, he didn't like Junior hanging with her.
Okay.
Well, I think he told me, I told Flower a few times that it was bad news.
Okay. All right. Now I'll move on to this. Now I did look it up. There is another young man who is missing in Williams Lake, although it was not around the time that Carl went missing, and his name is Tyler Walton, Walton. He went missing in 2009. Has anybody ever been able to establish any connection? I realize it's 13 years between them. Any connection between Tyler's disappearance and Carl's disappearance? Any connection between them?
Not that I know.
Okay. Had you ever heard of Tyler Walton? Had you ever heard of his disappearance?
No.
No.
But there is a lot of people that go missing in Williams Lake area.
Okay.
Cornell area. Cornell's about an hour away from Williams Lake.
Okay. All right, so this is where we stand. We have to remember, just to remind everybody, it's at least for the purposes of this podcast, you should know, Charlene and Carl, the average age of a disappearance I feature on my podcast is 22 years old. In my world, Carl's disappearance is fairly new. So I'm just reminding the audience that we just have to remember, a year and a half in, not a ton of facts. And of course, I hope Carl is found alive tomorrow. But if he isn't, it would not surprise me if a year from now you both have more facts than you do now. This is the way these things, develop. But I, of course, hope he's alive. I hope he comes back home to you two tomorrow. But how difficult has this been the last year and a half? Of course, this is the place that's 400 some kilometers from where you live. You have to go up there and do searches. You have to keep in contact with the police and everything. How bad has the last year and a half been?
That's one of the most difficult things any parents can go through. It's not knowing where your son is and knowing what happened to him.
Yeah.
It took a toll on our whole family.
Right.
So, some days it's more difficult than the others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, one of the things that people have to know is, if you know, let us know, and can't, some days we don't even want to move on.
How often let me ask you this. When was the last time you spoke to the police? Maybe I should ask you this first. Who is actually responsible for Carl's disappearance now? What police department? Williams Lake or the RCMP?
Yeah, it's Williams Lake.
Williams Lake. And when was the last time you spoke with them?
Oh, they stopped calling a few months ago now. I had to call them. And they just stopped calling. There's too many other missing cases that they have to deal with. And why is this happening? You can tell that there's too many missing person cases that there are.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Do you have a Facebook page or anything like that set up for Carl's disappearance, like on Facebook or anything like that? Do you have anything like that set up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Search for Carl Jr.
On Facebook, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Say it again. Please go ahead and say that again one more time, Carl.
Search for Carl Schooner Jr. There's a picture of him holding a badminton. He used to come over with me.
Okay. Okay. We'll make sure that everybody checks that out. Okay. Carl and Charlene, any final words before we complete this interview? Anything else?
We loved our son.
Yeah.
And, we just don't want this to happen to any other parents.
Right.
Nobody else should go through this.
I should have asked you. Of course, you have multiple other children. How has this affected them?
It's affected them, all of them. They always talk about him. And our youngest one is really the one that's taken it hardest, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Always came in, and the last time they did a karaoke thing together.
Mm-hmm.
But our whole family, it's affected deeply.
Yeah. When was the last time you were up to Williams Lake? Have you gone up there recently, Carl?
Not for our shirts. Just we have a little store. We go up there and get supplies for our little convenience store.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Carl and Charlene, I hope we can stay in contact. I realize because of in the United States, kind of some of the things that I can use, like databases and things, are limited given that you're in a different country. But still, I hope we can keep in contact, and maybe I continue to give you the best advice that I can regarding Carl's disappearance, even though, once again, I'm not Canadian. I want to continue to help you in any way that I can. And I want you to feel free that any time to call me or message me, whatever you think, and I hope we can stay in contact, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I appreciate you both being on this episode of Unfound.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And that was my June 6th, 2024 interview with Carl Sr. and Charlene Schooner, parents of Carl Schooner Jr. I thank them both for joining me and all of you on this episode. And a big thanks to Assistant Emily, who found out about Carl's disappearance and tracked his family down in Canada. Yes, I know, there aren't a lot of facts for Carl's disappearance. However, what we seemingly have point in a direction that something happened and somebody or some group attempted to cover it up by burning an apartment. And this is not necessarily crazy. Remember, Dorianne Myers' house got gutted by arson during her disappearance. Gerald Rustness and Peggy McKay went missing, and the house fire could have been set on purpose. And more recently on Unfound, Ricky Jean Bryant went missing, and no matter how you look at it, the burning house had something to do with her disappearance, either implicitly or explicitly. In all of those cases and many others, those fires might have destroyed valuable evidence. Maybe. What doesn't help is that when Carl's family had the opportunity to ask Robin about that fire, they did not, despite already knowing about it. And Robin didn't bring it up either. But I have to admit there's something about the fire, after reading a local media report on it, that conflicts with what Carl and Charlene said in their interview. They said Robin was living in the place that burned, and after it happened, she went to live with her father. However, in the Williams Lake Tribune, and I've posted the article on Facebook and elsewhere so all of you can see it, the report states that the apartment was unoccupied at the time and vacant. So not only was no one in the apartment when the fire occurred, but no one's possessions were in the apartment either. Meaning, if this were actually Robin's place, she moved out well before the fire happened. So then, did she move out right after Carl went missing? Which of course would be suspicious. Or must we be open to the idea that the Schooners have gotten their facts wrong and Robin never lived in that place at all? Of course, if the fire were intentionally set, then Robin or whoever could have gotten all their possessions out beforehand. But still, there's something about what the Schooners said, and contrasting that with the article, that makes me think something within all of it is not true. And yes, I've told the Schooners that they must find out what started the fire at that apartment. In fact, maybe first and foremost, they should really find out if Robin lived there or not. Until we get these answers, I think we'll be so far away from a resolution. If you'd like to hear and read more of my in-depth analysis into the disappearance of Carl Schooner Jr., please go to patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. Sign up, it's only $2 a month, and partake in the Unfound blog. Until then, I leave the public theorizing up to you. And that's the program. Right now, while you are in your podcast platform, Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, wherever, give Unfound a 5-star review, a thumbs up, whatever that platform allows. I thank you for listening. I'm Ed Densel, and you've just finished this episode of Unfound.